Have you ever noticed how the world divides itself in celebration? One soul fills the room with light and laughter, adorning the hours with cake, music, and friends. Another passes through the same day quietly, without fanfare. No candles, no clinking glasses, just the quiet rhythm of an ordinary 24 hours. What marks the difference? Why does one rejoice and another remain still? Waldo Emerson would tell you, these differences are not merely habits of mood, but mirrors of the soul's condition. For celebration is not about the date, but about our relationship with time, memory, and meaning. To some, the birthday is a festival of belonging. To others, a reminder of solitude. And to a few rare spirits, it is simply the day the sun returns to greet them again, a moment neither exalted nor diminished. Let us explore this truth with clear eyes. There are, I believe, 3 great reasons why hearts diverge so on the day of their birth. Each reveals something profound about how we measure our worth and how we respond to the passage of years. The first kind, those who no longer expect celebration. For some, the story begins not with indifference, but with disappointment. There was a time, perhaps in youth, when the day promised warmth and attention. But the world, busy and forgetful, failed to answer that hope. A forgotten message, an empty chair, a party that never filled. All these things carve quiet marks upon the spirit. Eventually the heart grows cautious. It ceases to expect joy, not out of wisdom, but out of weariness. The human mind, said Emerson, is plastic. It shapes itself around experience. When pain repeats, the spirit learns to defend itself. Psychologists call this learned helplessness, but Emerson would have called it the defeat of expectation. It is the soul's quiet agreement to stop knocking on a door that never opens. The man tells himself, "It's only a day." The woman says, "I never liked birthdays anyway." Yet beneath such words often lies a deeper truth. Caring once cost too much. Think of the child who once baked his own cake, waiting for friends who never came. Think of the woman who spent her special day alone while others forgot. These are not simply sad anecdotes. They are the roots of an adult's apathy. When the well of recognition runs dry, the spirit learns to drink alone. The birthday becomes just another sunrise, no less beautiful, but no longer sacred. Emerson might have placed a gentle hand upon such a shoulder and said, "Do not measure your worth by the memory of others, for when love is absent, the soul's duty is not to retreat, but to grow self-reliant. It must learn to create its own music, its own light, its own celebration from within. The neglected child within us is not meant to disappear. He is meant to be redeemed by our own understanding. To those who no longer celebrate, I say this: your silence is not emptiness, it is self-preservation. Yet take care that this preservation does not harden into frost. For while the world may fail you, life itself still sings. The universe, as Emerson believed, is a grand affirmation whispering, "You exist, therefore you are already honored." The second kind, those who are lost in the machinery of time. Then there are others, souls not wounded by neglect, but consumed by speed. They do not reject celebration. They simply forget it exists. Work hums through their veins, tasks pile like mountains, and before they lift their heads, the day has already passed. It is not sorrow that robs them, but distraction. They are swept along by what Emerson called the rush of circumstance. In such lives, time becomes an endless stream where every hour resembles the next. The birthday, that small island of reflection, is drowned by the current. The modern world has gifted us much: progress, connection, ambition, but at a cost. Our calendars overflow while our spirits starve for stillness. Emerson, who valued solitude as the seedbed of genius, would warn us that a life too crowded leaves no room for awe. "Nothing can bring you peace but yourself," he said, "and peace cannot exist where attention is scattered." To these overburdened souls, the birthday is not a symbol of joy or sorrow. It is simply lost in the shuffle. Yet beneath that busyness lies a deeper tragedy, the forgetting of wonder. For what is a birthday if not a pause, a sacred reminder that the world once welcomed you into it? To lose sight of that is to lose the poetry of existence, but despair not, for awareness is the beginning of restoration. The same mind that rushes can also awaken. When you realize that time itself is not your master but your companion, you reclaim the day as yours again. The celebration need not be loud. It can be a solitary walk, a silent cup of tea, a letter to yourself thanking the years for their lessons. Emerson would tell you that reverence begins in quietness. To honor your life does not require noise, it requires presence. So if you find that your birthday slips by unnoticed, ask not, "Why does no one remember me?" but rather, "Why have I forgotten to pause for myself?" The third kind, those who have outgrown the need for ceremony. And then there are the rare few who know it is their birthday, yet feel no need to announce it. They do not reject celebration out of bitterness or neglect. Instead, they walk with an inward serenity that no occasion can augment. They have discovered what Emerson called the sovereignty of the self. Such people are not cold. They are whole. They have learned that the truest joy does not come from candles or crowds, but from the silent fire of self-awareness. They measure the worth of a life not by how loudly it is celebrated, but by how deeply it is lived. Their peace is internal, their celebration continuous. Psychologists describe this as self-determination, a life guided by autonomy, purpose, and mastery. Emerson called it self-reliance, to live without constant validation, to draw warmth from one's own integrity. This, he believed, is the highest form of freedom. Consider how the mountain stands. It does not shout of its height, nor beg the wind to praise it. It simply is. Its existence is its triumph. So too with those who have matured beyond external applause. They do not need a calendar to tell them when to rejoice, for every day they draw breath is already a birthday. To them, the passage of time is not something to fear, but to befriend. They see the years not as steps toward decline, but as rings of growth, like a tree widening its wisdom. They understand that to live quietly is not to live poorly. It is to live on one's own terms. Emerson wrote, "To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment." These are the souls who live that truth. Their joy is subtle but enduring. They find delight in work well done, in conversation sincere, in solitude complete. They do not chase moments. They create meaning from each one. What our birthdays reveal about us, when viewed through this lens, the birthday becomes less about candles and more about consciousness. Whether you celebrate loudly, quietly, or not at all, your attitude reveals where your happiness draws its source. If you avoid celebration because others failed you, you are still tethered to their memory. If you ignore it because life is too crowded, you have traded wonder for routine. But if you see no need for celebration because your contentment flows from within, then you have touched upon Emerson's ideal of inner wealth. Yet none of these are fixed states. We are fluid creatures, changing with the seasons of the soul. The one who hides from birthdays today may, in healing, learn to celebrate again tomorrow. The one who forgets may one day remember, and the one who finds peace in solitude may rediscover joy in fellowship. All are expressions of the same eternal quest, to know our worth and to live in harmony with it. Emerson would not tell you whether to celebrate or abstain. He would tell you to observe yourself honestly. For self-knowledge is the first act of wisdom. Ask yourself not merely, do I want a party? But what does my desire or my disinterest say about my spirit? Every preference conceals a story, and to uncover that story is to know yourself more deeply, the hidden meaning of celebration. In truth, the birthday is but a symbol of something larger. It is life reminding us to pause, to measure how far we have come, to reconcile with time. Whether we mark it with a feast or a quiet sigh, the day exists to reflect the miracle of continuity, that the same consciousness that blinked open in infancy now beholds the world with seasoned eyes. To celebrate is to say, I am grateful to be here still. To abstain may say, I have nothing to prove. Both are valid expressions of the soul's dialogue with itself. What matters is the awareness behind the act. In Emerson's philosophy, every day holds the potential of birth. We are always being born again, he wrote, for what we call the beginning is often the end, and to make an end is to make a beginning. Thus, the truest birthday is not annual but eternal. It happens each morning we wake to consciousness. Each hour we choose integrity over convenience. Each moment we return to gratitude. The psychology of celebration and silence, Emerson believed that every outer habit conceals an inner truth. The way one marks their birthday is but a visible leaf upon the invisible root of self-regard. Beneath every cake or quiet evening lies a philosophy, often unspoken, but deeply felt. Some people seek company on their birthday because they wish to reaffirm connection. To them, the laughter of friends is the music of belonging. The day becomes a ritual of gratitude for the web of love that holds them. Yet even here lies a shadow. If joy depends wholly upon others, it trembles at the absence of their attention. Others withdraw, fearing disappointment or claiming they simply don't care. But indifference is seldom born from peace. More often it is the armor of those once wounded by neglect. These people have learned to protect their hearts by closing the door before anyone forgets to knock. Their silence is not joyless, but defensive, a fortress built from remembered loneliness. And then there are those few who, in the Emersonian spirit, neither seek nor avoid. They do not lean outward for validation, nor shrink inward from hurt. They live in self-trust, content with their own company, at ease with the movement of time. To them, celebration is not bound to a calendar. It is an atmosphere of gratitude that hums beneath every day. The psychological world names this self-determination. Emerson named it independence of the soul. In his essay, Self-Reliance, he writes, "The great man is he who in the midst of the crowd keeps with perfect sweetness the independence of solitude." What modern science frames as autonomy and intrinsic motivation, Emerson saw as the natural state of a mind awakened to its own power. The essence is this: those who find contentment within need not hunt for it without. They may share joy freely, but never depend upon the world to confirm it. Their birthdays are not empty, they are serene. How childhood shapes the adult celebration. It is a gentle but profound truth that much of our adult behavior is an echo of childhood experience. The one who delights in grand celebration may be in part the child who once felt unseen and now seeks to reclaim attention as affection. The one who shuns parties may carry the memory of past disappointment, the half-inflated balloon, the absent guests, the quiet room after expectation dissolved. Emerson understood that memory molds destiny. The years teach much which the days never know. The neglected child does not simply forget. He grows into a man or woman who mistrusts hope, and yet he also carries within him the capacity to heal, for the soul is never static. Healing, in Emerson's view, comes not from rewriting the past, but from reinterpreting it. He would advise, turn your wounds into wisdom. The moment you cease to be defined by what was denied to you, you become creator, not victim. To the adult who avoids birthdays because they once hurt too much, the philosopher would say, celebrate. Not what others failed to give, but what you have learned to give yourself. The party may be solitary, a walk beneath trees, a notebook filled with reflections, but its purpose remains sacred, to honor survival, to thank the years that tempered you. Every year, we are invited to revisit this inner child. Whether we bring him into a crowded room or into quiet meditation, the gesture is the same, to tell him you were worth remembering. The modern disease of time blindness, the second group, the hurried, the distracted, live under a subtler tyranny. Their forgetting is not emotional but mechanical. They are not unloved, they are simply unpaused. They move through days as through stations, rarely stopping to ask where they are bound. Emerson foresaw this ailment even in his own century. "Things are in the saddle," he lamented, "and ride mankind." The modern condition has merely tightened the reins. We labor under schedules that mistake busyness for purpose. We scroll through endless images of celebration online, yet forget to mark our own moments of grace. Time blindness is not laziness, it is overload. When every hour demands attention, no hour receives reverence. Birthdays, anniversaries, even simple meals dissolve into the blur. The tragedy is not that people forget the day, but that they forget themselves within it. Emerson's remedy would not be to flee the world, but to recenter within it. He would say, "Adopt the pace of nature. Her secret is patience." To reclaim your sense of time, you must first step outside its rush. Spend one quiet hour with no task but awareness. Let that hour stretch long enough for your heart to rejoin your body. Only then will you remember what the calendar cannot teach, that life itself is celebration when lived awake. A birthday in this light becomes a mirror. It asks, have you been living as yourself or merely passing as an actor in other people's plays? It calls for self-examination, not self-advertisement. The busyness that crowds out reflection is the true thief, stealing not only joy but meaning. If you find that your birthday slips past unnoticed, let it not shame you, but alert you. It is not too late. The day is not lost. It is waiting for your attention. Pause, breathe, and remember that the smallest act of awareness, lighting a candle, writing a thought, watching the dawn, is celebration enough for the soul that knows itself. The grace of emotional independence. The third group, the self-contained, the serenely indifferent, live as Emerson might have lived his own birthday, with quiet gratitude and calm dignity. To them, joy does not depend upon applause. They do not measure affection by numbers on a post or the size of a gathering. They possess what the philosopher called an unborrowed light. To modern psychology, this is autonomy, the capacity to source fulfillment from within. To Emerson, it was the law of the universe written in the human heart. The soul raised over passion beholds identity and eternal causation. In simpler words, those who live from inward strength need no constant reminder of their value, for their value radiates naturally, like the sun that asks no praise to shine. Such people often appear detached, but their detachment is discipline. They have discovered that peace is not found in noise, but in proportion, knowing how much of the world to invite in and when to close the door gently upon it. Their birthdays, if marked at all, are ceremonies of reflection. Perhaps they read a favorite book or wander into nature. Perhaps they do nothing but feel the miracle of breath and heartbeat. To them, this suffices. They are not deprived. They are free. Yet Emerson would also caution them, beware lest independence turn to isolation. The self-reliant soul must not become a hermit to its own heart. Celebration, in its purest form, is communion, first with oneself, then with others, and finally with the great whole. The wise celebrate quietly, but never cease to connect. The mature solitude does not shun the world. It chooses when to engage it. What your birthday teaches about your philosophy of life. Birthdays, then, are not trivial social rituals. They are philosophical revelations. How you approach your day of birth is a reflection of how you approach existence itself. The one who chases elaborate celebration may be affirming the joy of community or fleeing the fear of insignificance. The one who ignores the day entirely may be expressing maturity or protecting old wounds, and the one who smiles inwardly and moves on may have learned the secret of Emerson's universe, that the self-sustained spirit needs no occasion to feel alive. None of these states is superior. Each marks a stage in the evolution of awareness. First, we seek affirmation from others. Then, when disappointed, we recoil into independence. Finally, if we are wise, we rediscover connection, not as dependence, but as choice. Emerson's philosophy mirrors this arc, from conformity to rebellion to harmony. Ask yourself then, not with guilt, but with curiosity, where you dwell along this path. Are you still waiting for others to crown your joy? Have you turned away from celebration out of fatigue or protection? Or have you reached the serene height where every sunrise feels like a gift and no external reminder is required? The truth is fluid. You may shift between these states through the years. Some birthdays you may crave laughter, others silence. Both can be sacred if approached with consciousness. What matters is not the noise or the quiet, it is the authenticity behind it. Emerson's hidden lesson: every day is a birthday. To live as Emerson lived is to wake each morning with a sense of rebirth. He would remind you that life renews itself continuously. The date on a page is merely symbolic. The invariable mark of wisdom, he wrote, is to see the miraculous in the common. So, consider the possibility that your real birthday is today, not the one recorded on certificates, but this very day in which you notice life again. The day you forgive yourself, or begin anew, or rediscover awe, that too is a birth. Every dawn whispers, "You are new again." Each sunset marks completion, each dream conception. To live with this awareness is to transcend the need for special occasions. The truly awakened soul celebrates not annually, but perpetually. This is not to scorn tradition. The cake, the song, the gathering of friends, these are beautiful human expressions of affection. But Emerson would have you understand their essence. They are not proofs of worth, but reflections of it. The worth exists before thee. Candles are lit. The candles simply remind us of what has been true all along, that life itself is reason enough for gratitude. So, when the day of your birth returns, do as you please, feast or fast, dance or meditate. But whatever you do, let it be from understanding, not expectation. Celebrate not because you must, but because you choose. And if you choose stillness, let it be the stillness of a lake holding the sky, quiet, yet full of reflection, the rebirth of perspective. There comes a point in every life when the question shifts from "how shall I celebrate my day?" to "what does it mean that I am still here?" That quiet question marks the dawn of Emersonian maturity, when the soul begins to value being above having and meaning above moment. The child seeks gifts. The youth seeks attention. The adult seeks reflection. But the wise, they seek neither praise nor pleasure, only understanding. Emerson wrote, "Life is a journey, not a destination." The mature soul lives this truth. It no longer waits for milestones to justify existence. Each day, ordinary yet sacred, becomes its own reward. Think of your life as a circle of seasons. Each birthday is not an isolated day of festivity, but the turning of a ring in the great spiral of becoming. The trees do not hold festivals when their leaves return. They simply unfold, certain of the sun. Likewise, you need not summon a crowd to announce your growth. You need only notice it. Growth, after all, is its own celebration. Yet there is beauty in both kinds of joy, the outward and the inward. To gather with others, to share laughter and song, is to weave yourself into the tapestry of humanity. But to celebrate within in silence is to acknowledge your place in eternity. The highest wisdom lies in knowing when to do each. Picture yourself alone on the night of your birthday. No voices, no messages, no cake, only you and the quiet hum of existence. At first it may seem hollow, yet as the silence deepens, something profound stirs. You realize that every breath is a candle, every heartbeat a drumbeat of life. You understand that the true celebration is not in the noise around you, but in the miracle that you continue to be. Emerson would say that solitude reveals what society conceals, the self's capacity to sustain joy without audience. The solitary candle burns more steadily than the chandelier. It does not depend on applause to shine. And when you light that candle, even in your mind, you affirm not the calendar, but consciousness itself. You declare, I am still here, and that is enough. So if ever you find yourself alone on your birthday, do not mistake that aloneness for absence of love. See it instead as an invitation to turn inward to meet your truest companion, yourself. For all other relationships are but reflections of that primary one. What then should one do when the day of birth arrives? Emerson would not prescribe actions, but intentions. Whether you throw a feast or take a walk in solitude, let it serve this single purpose, to reconnect with meaning. Ask yourself, what do I wish to honor today? Perhaps it is gratitude for endurance, or awe at the mystery of life, or simply the joy of existing amidst beauty. Let your answer shape your celebration. A ritual, no matter how small, becomes holy when infused with awareness. Bake your own cake if you must. It matters not who cuts it. Or write yourself a letter, not to remember who you were, but to converse with who you are becoming. Emerson often urged his readers to write it on your heart that every day is the best day in the year. The birthday, then, is not a special day set apart, but a reminder to live every day as if it were one. This perspective transforms aging from dread to reverence. You cease to count years as losses and begin to see them as layers of insight. You no longer mourn youth, you harvest it. You no longer fear the passing of time, you befriend it. The soul does not age, it deepens. Gratitude, in Emerson's philosophy, is not the shallow habit of saying thank you to others. It is a deep recognition of one's participation in the divine flow of life. It is the quiet strength that allows the heart to remain joyful even in solitude. When you wake on your birthday, before the first message or memory reaches you, take one breath and give thanks, not for possessions, not for achievements, but for perception itself. Gratitude is awareness made luminous. It transforms even the smallest life into an altar. This form of gratitude does not depend on circumstance. The poor man may feel it as richly as the prince. It does not need a reason. It is reason itself. And when it lives within you, every day becomes a soft celebration of being. If you can rise in the morning, see the light fall across your floor, feel the weight of your own body as proof of presence, then you are already celebrating. The truest happiness requires no witness, yet it would be untrue to pretend we can live wholly without others. Emerson himself, though he prized solitude, cherished friendship. He called it the masterpiece of nature. Birthdays, in their most human form, are moments when we see ourselves reflected through others' affection. To be remembered is to be reaffirmed, but one must guard against mistaking the reflection for the light. The social mirror can distort. The love of others, while nourishing, is not a substitute for self-respect. The world may celebrate you one year and forget you the next. Only the inner flame endures. Let external celebration be the echo, not the origin, of your worth. When the crowd claps, let it be gratitude, not validation. When the crowd is silent, let your flame continue to burn. For the spirit that depends on noise is as fragile as glass. The one that glows from within is indestructible. What then is the purpose of a birthday once you cease to depend on it? It becomes not a celebration of age, but an acknowledgement of evolution. The child celebrates presence. The adult celebrates progress. Each year invites you to ask, what have I learned that makes this cycle complete? What truth have I embodied more deeply? What ignorance have I shed? In this reflection, celebration becomes renewal, a recommitment to growth. Emerson saw self-improvement not as ambition, but as reverence. To grow, in his view, was to honor the divine spark that created you. Every new insight, every quiet victory, every healed wound, these are the real gifts of life. So when the day comes, take inventory not of possessions or parties, but of awakenings. Count not your candles, but your moments of clarity. And when you realize how far you've traveled, bow your head, not in pride, but in wonder. Perhaps the most Emersonian truth of all is this: celebration is simplicity reborn. Modern life, with its fireworks of distraction, has made joy a performance. But the soul does not crave performance, it craves presence. To celebrate wisely, then, is to simplify. A single flower on a table, a letter to a friend, a walk through rain. These gestures, small yet sincere, outlast the grandest feasts. Emerson wrote, "Nothing is more simple than greatness. Indeed, to be simple is to be great. So let your birthday and every day become a quiet poem of simplicity. Speak gently, act sincerely, and let gratitude be your confetti. When you reduce life to its essence, you find that joy was never absent, only obscured by excess." In the end, Emerson would urge you to recognize that you yourself are the celebration. Life does not happen to you, it happens through you. Each thought, each act, each breath is a ripple in the grand festival of existence. You are both guest and host at the banquet of time. You are both the candle and the flame. When you see yourself in this light, every day becomes sacred. You no longer wait for happiness to arrive with others. You generate it, quietly, steadily, eternally. So when your next birthday dawns, and you rise to greet it, whether surrounded by laughter or wrapped in silence, remember this: the truest way to honor the day you were born is to live fully the day you are given. And when night falls, whisper a blessing to yourself: I am still here. I am still learning. I'm still enough. That, dear friend, is Emerson's kind of celebration. Not a spectacle, but a revelation. May your birthdays be many, but may your awareness be endless. May you love the company of others, yet never lose the company of yourself. May you know how to feast in laughter and how to feast in silence. And above all, may you live so deeply that every morning feels like your first breath on earth. That is the Emersonian secret of happiness, to find birth not once a year, but once a moment.